7 attractive things tell men you have class. And the first truth is this: class is never shouted, never begged for, never performed. It is lived, it is embodied, it is what radiates when you refuse to compromise your value for approval. Men feel it before you even speak. They sense it in how you carry yourself, in how you withhold unnecessary explanations, in how your silence sometimes speaks more than 100 words. The first attractive thing is your discipline of presence. Class is not about appearances. It is about posture, energy, and the quiet authority that comes from knowing who you are. When a man sees that you are not bending yourself to fit into every room, but instead anchoring yourself in your identity, he realizes that you are not someone to impress cheaply. He recognizes that your presence carries weight, and weight commands respect. The second attractive thing is your measured restraint. In a world of endless noise where people overshare, overexpose, and overcompensate, restraint is magnetic. It tells a man, I don't need to give everything away to be noticed. You reveal only what deserves revelation, and in doing so, you create mystery. Mystery is not a game. It is the natural aura of someone who knows their worth. A man instantly understands you will not hand your value over cheaply because what is valuable must be earned. The third attractive thing is standards that don't shake. A woman with class is not afraid to walk away. She is not afraid to say no. She is not afraid of distance because she knows that distance is often the crucible where respect is forged. Men test boundaries consciously or unconsciously, and every time you stand firm, you teach them how to treat you. Class is not passive. It is active strength disguised as quiet confidence. The fourth attractive thing is the ability to listen without losing yourself. Too many enter conversations trying to dominate or seeking validation. Class is demonstrated when you can hear, understand, and even empathize without bending into weakness. You do not adopt another's worldview to be accepted. You weigh, you reflect, you respond with clarity. That ability tells men that your mind is not easily swayed and therefore your soul is not easily taken. The fifth attractive thing is how you manage conflict. Anyone can scream, accuse, or chase revenge, but dignity is shown when you can handle conflict without self-destruction. Class is not about avoiding confrontation. It is about controlling your reaction within it. Men find themselves drawn to women who can keep composure in storms because it signals strength, wisdom, and stability. In a chaotic world, composure is rare and rarity is priceless. The sixth attractive thing is your relationship with attention. Classy people are not addicted to being seen. They are not desperate for validation. They can walk into a room, command respect with presence alone, and walk out without needing applause. A man notices when you don't chase attention because that restraint makes him want to give it freely. Attention given willingly is more powerful than attention demanded. And finally, the seventh attractive thing is consistency of character. Charm can spark desire, beauty can capture attention, but only consistent dignity earns lasting respect. Men look for patterns. Do you live in accordance with your principles, or do you abandon them when tested? Do you remain composed even when provoked? Do you keep promises even to yourself? That consistency tells a man that your strength is not situational. It is foundational. These 7 things are not about fashion, wealth, or performance. They are about inner architecture. They are about the structure of your soul. Men who encounter them feel an ancient pull, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. You remind them of something they cannot fake, that class is discipline, dignity, and alignment between words and actions. Understand this clearly. Beauty may catch the eye, but class arrests the soul. Beauty may invite desire, but class commands loyalty. Beauty may create attraction, but class creates reverence. And reverence is what endures. If you want to be taken seriously, then live seriously. If you want to be respected, then respect yourself so fiercely that others cannot help but follow. Do not waste time convincing men of your worth. Live it so boldly that they are forced to recognize it. Do not settle for shallow validation, because shallow validation robs you of deep admiration. And never never confuse loudness for strength. Strength is quiet, class is quiet, and quietness that carries weight will always be louder than empty noise. Men may not always articulate why they are drawn to you, but they will feel it. They will feel that you are rare. They will feel that your silence has gravity, your standards have sharpness, your consistency has power. And when a man feels this, he knows you are not simply attractive, you are unforgettable. So carry yourself with discipline, live with restraint, guard your standards, hold composure, resist the addiction to attention, and remain consistent. For in doing these 7 things, you do not simply show class, you become the definition of it. Class is not purchased, it is disciplined into you. It is not something that money can buy, nor is it found in a wardrobe full of designer labels or a house decorated in luxury. Class is something deeper, something that cannot be stripped away when status fades or possessions are lost. It is the product of repeated choices, deliberate restraint, and the quiet courage to stand in alignment with values that do not bend to convenience. Class is cultivated through discipline. Discipline in how you carry yourself, how you treat others, and how you govern your emotions when circumstances provoke you. Anyone can be polite when things are easy, but class is revealed when you are tested. When anger tempts you to lash out, when insecurity tempts you to compete, when loneliness tempts you to settle. In those moments, discipline becomes your proof of character. True class is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not need validation to exist. It speaks in silence, in composure, in the way you can command respect without demanding it. A person of class does not need to constantly prove themselves because their consistency already does the work. Men and women alike recognize that stability, and it draws admiration more powerfully than charm ever could. It is easy to confuse class with image, but image can be manufactured. Image is surface. Class is substance. You cannot fake it in the long run because time exposes pretense. You can perform sophistication at dinner, but if you lack discipline, cracks appear, sharp words slip, bitterness leaks out, arrogance replaces humility. That is why class is never a costume. It is a discipline so deeply woven into your being that it shows up when no one is watching. Discipline builds restraint, and restraint builds mystery. In an age of oversharing and overexposure, holding back becomes magnetic. You do not need to give the world every detail of your life to be seen. In fact, the more you hold in reserve, the more valuable your presence becomes. Class is in the way you choose not to chase attention because you know that dignity commands more respect than desperation ever will. A person with class is consistent. They are not strong one day and reckless the next. They are not kind in public and cruel in private. Consistency is what convinces others that your strength is real, not situational. And this consistency can only be forged by discipline, by holding yourself accountable even when no one else does. That is why class is rare. It requires a relentless standard, not a temporary performance. There is also courage in class, the courage to set boundaries and mean them, the courage to walk away from what insults your soul, the courage to withhold when others beg you to compromise. Every time you uphold your standards, you declare that your worth is not negotiable, and that declaration speaks louder than any demand for respect. Conflict reveals class more than any calm moment ever could. When insulted, do you retaliate with venom? Or do you maintain composure? When betrayed, do you plot destruction? Or do you stand tall and let silence be your revenge? Class is not passive weakness. It is active mastery of self. The strongest person is the one who can stay in control when chaos is screaming for their surrender. Even in love, class matters. Affection without self-respect is dependency. Attraction without dignity is desperation. Class ensures that your heart is given, not thrown away. It teaches others that your attention is not free, that your loyalty is not casual, that your affection is valuable. Men and women feel this distinction instantly because class turns interest into reverence. And here is the deepest truth. Class is not about being flawless. It is about how you rise after mistakes. Do you learn, correct, and grow stronger, or do you collapse into excuses and blame? Discipline does not eliminate failure. It transforms it. When you carry yourself with humility in loss and dignity in recovery, you reveal a depth that surface-level beauty could never match. At its core, class is alignment. Alignment between what you believe, what you speak, and how you live. No masks, no contradictions, no double lives. That alignment is why class feels powerful, because people sense integrity. And integrity, unlike wealth or charm, cannot be purchased or faked. So if you want class, you must build it. Build it in the discipline of daily choices. Build it in the way you refuse to collapse into weakness when challenged. Build it in the consistency of your character, the restraint of your speech, the firmness of your boundaries, and the courage of your actions. What you tolerate defines you. It shapes the boundaries of your life more than your ambitions, more than your words, more than your goals. You can say you want respect, but if you tolerate disrespect, you will live beneath it. You can say you want peace, but if you tolerate chaos, you will drown in it. You can say you want greatness, but if you tolerate mediocrity, you will remain trapped in it. Your tolerances write the script of your existence, and they do so quietly, without ceremony. Every day you allow something beneath your worth to stay. Tolerance is not just endurance, it is permission. Every time you allow someone to speak to you in ways that strip your dignity, you teach them it is acceptable. Every time you let procrastination rob you of momentum, you teach yourself failure is tolerable. Every time you remain silent in the face of what you know is wrong, you train your own spirit to shrink. And here lies the truth. Life will test you. People will push you. Circumstances will challenge you. But what stays in your world is not determined by what arrives. It is determined by what you tolerate. Discipline is born not just in what you pursue, but in what you reject. Growth is not simply adding new habits. It is cutting off the old ones you no longer tolerate. Respect is not gained by asking for it, but by refusing to accept anything less. The standard you set is not defined by your words, but by the line you draw and defend. People are always watching, whether they admit it or not. They measure you not by your intentions, but by the way you respond when your limits are tested. When you tolerate too much, you dilute your power. Tolerate laziness and discipline fades. Tolerate manipulation and trust dies. Tolerate disrespect and dignity withers. This is why strong people appear unshakable. They do not entertain what corrodes their integrity. Their no is not cruel, it is necessary. Their boundaries are not selfish, they are sacred. They understand that every allowance carries consequences, and those consequences carve the structure of their destiny. Think about the relationships you hold. If you tolerate lies, you invite betrayal. If you tolerate neglect, you invite indifference. If you tolerate disrespect, you invite abuse. The moment you stop tolerating these things, you change the entire dynamic, not only with others, but with yourself. You begin to reclaim the authority you surrendered. You begin to send a message, not just outward, but inward. I am not here to be diminished. I am here to rise. The same truth applies to your own habits. If you tolerate excuses, you suffocate progress. If you tolerate fear, you abandon opportunity. If you tolerate weakness, you undermine strength. Discipline is not built on motivation. It is built on intolerance of mediocrity. You must reach a point where comfort feels more dangerous than effort, where settling feels more painful than striving. That is the moment transformation begins. What you tolerate also determines the kind of people who remain in your life. Weak boundaries invite those who feed on weakness. Strong boundaries repel them and attract those who respect strength. The world mirrors what you allow. If you walk as though you have no value, you will attract those who confirm that belief. If you walk as though you carry weight, others will recognize it. You cannot blame people for treating you beneath your worth if you are the one who continuously opens the door for it. Tolerance can be noble when it comes to patience, compassion, and forgiveness. But tolerance becomes poison when it allows decay to stay unchallenged. A life of high value is not built on endless tolerance. It is built on selective tolerance, patience for growth, Yes. Grace for human imperfection? Yes. But tolerance of what corrodes your soul? Never. Because once you accept poison, you cannot complain when it spreads. Strength lies in clarity. You must be clear about what is non-negotiable. You must know the principles that cannot be bought, the standards that cannot be bent, the boundaries that cannot be crossed. Without this clarity, you drift. With it, you anchor yourself in dignity. And that anchoring changes everything. It changes how you move, how you speak, how others respond, and most importantly, how you see yourself. What you tolerate defines you because it teaches you, moment by moment, who you are willing to be. If you tolerate weakness, you train yourself to be weak. If you tolerate strength, you train yourself to be strong. If you tolerate truth, you grow in integrity. If you tolerate lies, you live in shadows. Your tolerances shape your destiny because they shape your identity. So raise your standard. Refuse to live beneath your value. Refuse to make peace with what breaks you. Refuse to let fear disguise itself as patience. Draw the line, hold it with strength, and understand that every time you reject what insults your soul, you step into a higher version of yourself. And that version cannot be ignored, cannot be dismissed, cannot be diminished. Subtlety outshines extravagance. In a world where noise is celebrated, where attention is chased like currency, and where many confuse spectacle for strength, true power belongs to the one who does not need to shout. Subtlety is not weakness. It is not absence. It is the quiet command of someone who knows their value so completely that they never need to overstate it. Extravagance may dazzle for a moment, but subtlety endures. Extravagance exhausts. Subtlety intrigues. Extravagance seeks validation. Subtlety already owns it. Subtlety is the art of influence without display. It is the measured tone instead of the raised voice, the controlled action instead of the reckless outburst. It is the refusal to beg for recognition, because recognition inevitably comes to those who carry themselves with composure. Think about it. What captures deeper attention? The person who constantly flaunts themselves, or the one who speaks less, reveals less, but carries a presence that cannot be ignored? Men and women alike feel the weight of subtlety because it carries mystery, and mystery invites respect. Extravagance is addicted to reaction. It must be seen, validated, praised, or else it feels meaningless. It thrives only in the spotlight, and when the spotlight moves, it collapses. But subtlety is self-sustaining. It does not depend on applause. It does not beg for an audience. It is anchored in restraint. The power of subtlety lies in this. It draws people toward you without chasing them. It makes others lean in, not because you force them, but because they want to understand the depth you are not immediately revealing. Subtlety is the essence of class. It is in the way you dress, refined but not loud, elegant without screaming for approval. It is in the way you speak, measured words, carefully chosen, carrying weight because they are not thrown carelessly. It is in the way you respond, calm under pressure, controlled when provoked, unwilling to let emotions turn you into a spectacle. Extravagance tries to prove worth through exaggeration, but subtlety proves worth through restraint. The subtle carry authority without announcement. They command a room by simply being in it. They are not desperate to dominate every conversation because they know their silence carries more gravity than someone else's noise. Subtlety is the calm voice that ends an argument. It is the quiet confidence that makes others pay attention without even realizing why. That is why subtlety outshines extravagance. Because extravagance fades once the noise stops, but subtlety continues to echo long after the moment has passed. Think of relationships. Extravagance may capture attention at first. It dazzles, it entertains, it excites, but soon the shine wears thin and emptiness is exposed. Subtlety, however, creates depth. It does not overwhelm with constant display. It reveals itself gradually, and in doing so, it keeps the flame of interest alive. True attraction is not built on overwhelming gestures, but on the layered depth of subtle strength and mystery. That is why those who master subtlety often inspire deeper loyalty than those who live only for display. Subtlety also demands discipline. It requires you to resist the urge to overshare, to overcompensate, to prove yourself through spectacle. It requires you to trust your worth enough that you do not need to decorate it with extravagance. That discipline builds respect, both from yourself and from others. People may not always articulate why they respect you, but they will feel it, because restraint always communicates strength. Extravagance can be a mask for insecurity. Many hide their emptiness behind noise, hoping no one notices the lack of substance. But subtlety cannot be faked. It requires substance. It requires depth. It requires that you have enough within yourself that you do not need the world to constantly feed you validation. Subtlety is quiet confidence born from discipline, while extravagance is loud insecurity dressed as confidence. Even in leadership, subtlety is more powerful than extravagance. The extravagant leader makes bold displays, but often burns out trust with arrogance. The subtle leader listens, observes, and acts with precision. Their influence spreads not because they shouted the loudest, but because their presence inspires steadiness. Power that must constantly prove itself is fragile. Power that simply is needs no show. Life will always tempt you with extravagance. It will whisper that if you are louder, flashier, more extreme, you will be noticed. And perhaps you will, for a moment. But notice is not the same as respect. Attention is not the same as influence. Subtlety plays the long game. It does not chase the moment. It shapes perception over time. And when you live with subtlety, you gain not just attention, but reverence. Subtlety outshines extravagance because it carries truth. It is rooted in authenticity, not in performance. It cannot be bought, staged, or faked. It is the reflection of someone who has disciplined themselves into composure, dignity, and restraint. It is the mark of someone who understands that mystery is more magnetic than noise and consistency more powerful than spectacle. So let others exhaust themselves in displays. Let others live for applause. You do not need it. Carry yourself with quiet strength. Speak less but mean every word. Reveal less but let every revelation carry weight. Move with intention, not with desperation. Build substance so deep that you never have to advertise it. Because when you master subtlety, you do not just outshine extravagance. You make extravagance look desperate. Consistency reveals character. Anyone can impress for a moment. Anyone can perform for a day. Anyone can show strength when it is easy. But who you are is not measured in the flashes of brilliance or the peaks of performance. It is measured in what you do over and over again, when no one is watching, when the applause has faded, when there is no recognition to gain. Consistency strips away the mask and exposes the real foundation of your character. It is easy to be kind once, but are you kind when you are tired, when you are pressured, when there is nothing to gain? It is easy to be disciplined for a week, but are you disciplined when months stretch into years, when no one is rewarding your effort, when the only witness to your persistence is yourself? It is easy to be loyal when things are comfortable, but are you loyal when temptation pulls, when sacrifice is required, when faithfulness costs you something? Consistency is the great revealer because it removes performance and demands authenticity. Consistency is not glamorous. It is not dazzling or dramatic. It is often quiet, often unnoticed, often thankless. Yet it is the soil where true character grows. People remember not the grand speeches, but the reliability of your actions. They trust not the one who promises once, but the one who fulfills daily. They admire not the one who shines in spurts, but the one who endures without collapse. Consistency communicates something words never can, that who you are today will be who you are tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Character without consistency is hollow. You can pretend to be strong, but if your strength breaks under pressure, it was never real. You can perform humility, but if arrogance takes over the moment pride is wounded, it was a mask. You can speak about values, but if you abandon them when they become inconvenient, they were never truly yours. Consistency is what proves that your values are not situational. Your discipline is not temporary. Your integrity is not for sale. In relationships, consistency is the foundation of trust. Words mean little without it. A man or woman may charm with gestures, but without consistent respect, affection, and presence, that charm decays. People fall in love with promises, but they stay in love because of consistency. Without it, loyalty rots, security crumbles, and connection dies. The most powerful declaration of love is not extravagant, it is daily. It is in the steady commitment that endures storms, boredom, and temptation alike. In discipline, consistency is the builder of destiny. One workout will not make you strong. One day of focus will not create success. One act of courage will not transform your life. It is the repeated discipline, the relentless effort, the daily decision to show up that shapes greatness. Success is not a result of rare intensity. It is the byproduct of consistent effort. When others fade, the consistent rise. When others quit, the consistent endure. When others settle, the consistent advance. Consistency is also the greatest teacher of self-respect. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you prove to your own mind that you can be trusted. Every time you abandon your own standards, you teach yourself that your words mean nothing. Over time, this either builds an unshakable confidence or destroys your belief in yourself. That is why consistency is so vital. It is not only about how others see you, but about how you see yourself. It is not enough to be great once, you must be great repeatedly. It is not enough to tell the truth once, you must tell it always. It is not enough to be strong when convenient, you must be strong when it costs you. Consistency reveals whether your values are anchored deep or merely floating on the surface. It reveals whether your strength is forged in discipline or borrowed from circumstance. It reveals whether your integrity is unshakable or merely a display for approval. And consistency, above all, demands endurance. It requires you to persist when the rewards are delayed, when progress feels invisible, when the world does not notice. Many quit not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked consistency. Many fail not because they lacked desire, but because they lacked discipline. Consistency requires patience, and patience is the crucible of true strength. So understand this, your character is not revealed in the occasional moment of greatness. It is revealed in the repeated choices you make day after day, when no one claps, when no one notices, when no one congratulates you. Those choices are who you are. Those choices build your identity. Those choices define your future. Consistency reveals character because it does not lie. It does not flatter. It does not deceive. It exposes the truth. You can talk about values, but consistency proves them. You can declare strength, but consistency demonstrates it. You can promise change, but consistency delivers it. So do not strive for occasional brilliance, strive for daily reliability. Do not chase rare intensity, chase steady discipline. Do not perform for applause, live for integrity. Because in the end, people may admire your talent, they may applaud your achievements, they may praise your beauty, but what they will trust, what they will build their respect upon, is your consistency. Consistency reveals character. And when your character is revealed, you cannot be ignored because the world recognizes the rare power of someone who endures.